Hello, everybody. Welcome to yet another Browns draft review. And the last time I talked to this gentleman was free agency. And boy, has there been a lot that's happened since then. So,
Oh yeah.
uh, joining me yet again today from the Sports Sanctuary, I will be sure to link his stuff, social media, YouTube channel, and whatnot. How you doing?
Doing all right, man. How you been doing out here? Enjoying
I'm
this off
doing.
season?
I'm doing, man. It's hard to maintain maintain your composure with all these picks. I mean, it's
Right.
hard to not get excited 24/7 just thinking about it.
Exactly. Trying not to jump out the window, talking about Super Bowl every day.
Oh, I know. Well, and that was the problem before. I was like, all right, need to calm expectations. Sure, we got John Johnson and all these guys, but still just kind of bring it down. And now it's like, well, all right, forget about it. Like I'm going all in now. But anyway, so like I said, we're here to talk draft. We're just going to basically just go right down the line, give our thoughts on each guy that the Browns picked. Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski had one heck of a weekend, and I
Yes, they
think
did.
that's an understatement. So
Super.
with the first pick, we stayed at 26. A lot of people didn't think we would, but we ended up staying at 26. The Browns took cornerback Greg Newsome the second out of Northwestern. What was your thoughts on this pick?
I was ecstatic. I was excited. I couldn't be more overjoyed because that was one of the. I think he was my top rated corner that I had on my own personal draft board, and I thought that maybe we were going to have to trade up. I thought that for the Browns to get a quality player such as Newsom in this draft, I really thought that they were going to have to trade up and give up something to get that done. Maybe go to like 20 or somewhere in that area. And when you start to see certain prospects fall in like JOK and Aziz Ojulari and Greg Newsom, you started to get a little bit excited. And then when they finally made the pick, I stayed up all night, man, just glued to my TV, waiting for this pick to come through. And it came through. I just could not be more excited because I think he fits the Brown scheme perfectly well with what they like to do. He played a lot of cover three stuff in college. He's really good at man coverage. He's got great tackling skills. In 2020, the shortened season for the pandemic, he had a pretty good ratio for breaking up passes. Like he broke up like 32% of the passes that came his way, which was a team high. Got him on a big team, all first team, all pro. He's just a really phenomenal, not like Pat Sertan or like JC Horn or those guys, maybe not to that stature, but I was really excited to get him as long as he can stay healthy because he did kind of come in with like an injury history that kind of is concerning to me especially since we have a secondary that seems kind of already injury ridden. Most of the time, Denzel is injured most of the time, and then we've got Greedy. We're going to see how he performs and comes back this year. So I was just kind of suspect adding another person who's like injury prone, but other than that, I was really excited by the pick.
Yeah, I couldn't believe who was there at 26. It was unbelievable watching the draft because first of all, we picked at like midnight, which is insane. I don't know why
Mm-hmm.
they just don't start it sooner.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they do it at 12 on Saturday. Why not? Why can't you do that? Whatever. But anyway, I like I said, I couldn't believe the names that were there. The Browns clearly valued corner as their number
Right.
one position, which I think was the right decision. I know there was a lot of fans who were really upset that the Joker, which is my nickname for him, I'm sticking with it. I'll talk about that later.
I like that.
Wasn't the pick there at 26, but like you said, the versatility, the flexibility for Greg Newsome, and he's young. I think that's the biggest thing. He's one of the youngest prospects in this draft, and he's so gifted already. He can learn so much more. Outstanding pick. I think he's going to start. I don't know about you.
Yep. Yeah, I think out of all of the prospects we got, outside of JOK, or as you like to call him, Joker, I think Newsom is going to be one of the prospects that I expect to come in, start, and make us a pretty significant impact this year because that was a need that the Browns needed from last year to fill this year. And he's going to get thrown into the fire pretty early, especially if Greedy Williams is not good
Hmm.
to go and he ends up losing his spot. So, yeah, I think he's going to see significant snaps. We're going to see what he's made of, you know what I'm saying, real quick. And I'm really excited to see what he has, especially with this newly constructed backfield that we have. It's going to be really exciting to watch after they get some chemistry.
Hmm.
Woo.
Yeah. And somebody was I can't even remember who it was. It doesn't matter, but somebody was talking to me and they were like, "Well, I see him playing inside more than outside." Well, I don't think I could disagree anymore. I think he's going to be the opposite of Ward playing
Right.
outside while you have Hill there playing nickel spot. And even when we play the three safeties, I think he's still going to be the outside guy. But
Right.
I mean, the best part is he can do whatever. And I
Yeah.
think he's going to be good in whatever role they put him in.
Yeah. And at worst, he's just going to be like a third man on that rotation.
Mhm.
Again, as long as Greedy can stay in that rotation as well, we might still be a little light at cornerback. I would have liked to
Yep.
see them pick up maybe another one out the draft as well. But I mean, when you only have so many picks and you only have there's only so many players of value that you can readily identify in every draft. So I mean, for what it does, like I give the Browns an A+ on what they did. And this pick with Newsome, I couldn't give it a higher grade just because, like we were saying, with the value of where he fell, where we were able to get him, what he brings to the table. Like a he is a genuine certified fit for what Joe
Mhm.
Woods wants to do with this defense. And like you said, I do believe he's going to play opposite of Ward. No matter what side of the field he's on, I believe he's going to generally always be on the outside, especially during his rookie year while he's learning the ropes and stuff like that. And it'll be good for him to learn from another Big Ten alumni and Denzel Ward, who he could pick his brain in that room. So yeah, I think the ceiling for Newsome is very, very high, and he already comes into the NFL with like a lot of tools to become useful to this defense immediately. I feel like out of all the prospects they got, besides again JOK, I feel like he's the most polished of them and like more NFL ready. Even though he still has a lot to learn, a lot he can improve on. He had a problem with pass interference calls in college. He was kind of grabby with his hands and stuff. But that's stuff you can teach out of players. You can coach them out of that kind of stuff. So it's not nothing you have to really be worried about. It's just something the Browns have to be aware of the coaching staff, and I'm sure they are. So we'll see.
Yeah, and I think the thing a lot of people aren't talking about, I think Newsom and Ward are very similar in a lot of
Mm-hmm.
ways. They
Body
both
build and all
got
that.
really good, yeah, exactly. Body build, they're very similar. Both have great footwork and
Mm-hmm.
both have really fluid hips. So I think Denzel Ward, even though Ward is still a young guy himself, he hasn't even gotten that second contract yet. But I think Newsom can learn so much from Ward that can help him rather translate that much quicker. But yeah, I think just like you said, I love the pick.
Agreed.
I don't understand some of the people who didn't like the pick. But I think he's going to surprise a lot of people. And I really do think the label of Northwestern hurts him because people go, Northwestern, like, they only had two players picked or whatever. But I think he's going to make his name known. Speaking of names known, the next pick, number 52, the guy who I'm calling the Joker. Y'all want to call him Woo or whatever. I'm calling him the Joker because you know what?
I like
Ju-
all the nicknames that the fan base is coming up with, man.
Mhm.
Everybody's got a name for it. And I love it, man. It's just a great time to be a Browns fan.
Hey, but just like the Joker, you think you know what he's doing, you think you know where he's going, slips right into your trap, or you slip right into his trap rather, and he takes you out. That's
Boom.
exactly what Jeremiah Wusu is gonna do. This kid, you know what? Sure, heart problems, last minute. I get it. I understand
Right.
that might be a reason why he fell a few spots. He was cleared. He's gonna be fine. Cleveland has the perfect spot for him to go with the Cleveland Clinic there if something is wrong.
Right.
This kid is going to wreck the NFL. And I'll go ahead
Yeah.
and let you give you your thoughts with the 50-second pick here.
Well, first and foremost, I just want to say that I'm glad to hear that Jeremiah's heart condition is nothing serious and it's not going to hamper his career and that he's in great health as verified by the Cleveland doctors and the Cleveland staff and all that. So I just want to say that, it's good to hear that he is good to go. Um, that aside, if he was clear to go, I'm glad that we as the public know why he ended up falling out of the first round because I was generally surprised that a lot of players fell out of the first round or fell to the bottom of the first round, like Jason Owe, who went to the
Mhm.
Ravens like at the end of the first round, and then like Aziz and JOK and all these other guys were falling Elijah Moore and stuff. Like I thought some of these guys were going to go in the first round, and it was just I don't know. I didn't really see a reason for JLK to drop, but I mean, I'll take him. The Browns got I think the steal of the draft with that. You know, we had to trade up to get him, but like you said, he's just a fit for it. Just like Newsom, he fits exactly what I think we need and what Joe Woods really wants on that defense in terms of linebackers. Because you know, with the sets he wants to run with the nickels and the dimes, you know, 5 and 6 defensive backs, you only need 1 or 2 linebackers on the field, and those guys need to be able to cover like JLK can do. He played a majority of his snaps in college as a in the box as a safety. You know, he's able to move all across the field. Again, we use this word versatility. You're going to hear that word a lot used in this draft with these 2 players in particular from this draft because they just have so many tools and things that they can bring to the table. Jeremiah is great against the pass. He's great against the run. Great tackling, great sideline to sideline speed. He hits hard. He hits good. He's a leader. I really like that about him. He's got leadership qualities on a team that we just added a bunch of leaders to. So I just feel like this defense is brimming with leadership. Like you got JJ3 from the Rams, who was a signal caller for their secondary, you know, running things back there in the pass coverage. Then you got Anthony Walker coming from the Colts, who has the reputation for being just an outstanding leader of men and on the field, being a field general. And then you have Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney down here to get the defensive line all worked up. And then you have JOK, who's just a rookie now, but will talk to me in 3 or 4 years after, you know, he's getting close to renewing his contract. He's had a chance to get acclimated to the NFL, get some better pass rushing skills and some things like that, add to his repertoire. And I think we're going to look back on this as Browns fans and as NFL fans in general, and definitely just talk about like, man, y'all really the Browns got the steal, and everybody who passed on him is going to regret it, just like Justin Fields. But that's a story for another day.
Yeah, we could go for an hour just talking about that whole field situation.
Right.
Exactly what you said. And everybody talks about, linebacker. Well, they're not going to use him just as a linebacker. You're going to see him in coverage a lot. You're going to see him coming off the edge a lot. This pick to me really writes the stamp for Lamar Jackson. I think he's going to haunt the Ravens and haunt Lamar Jackson. And even if he doesn't bring him down, because we know Lamar's so shifty. But what does that give? That gives extra time for Miles. That gives extra time for Clowney or other guys. But this pick, you're going to feel his presence immediately game 1. And you're going to realize what he is. Oh, I can't wait.
I can't wait till he hits Lamar. He's going to catch him one of them times, and it's going to be beautiful.
Yeah, and he's coming into a situation that couldn't have been any better for him. Because the Browns, with what they've done this offseason, they're not throwing him into one specific role. He's going to basically be able to do whatever they want him to do. And they said, as soon as that pick was made, they were all jumping up and down and drawing stuff on the dry board and stuff. It just
high-fiving each other.
Oh, my gosh.
We're going to run him like this right through the middle, going to stun him.
You're like I said, you will feel his presence. And that's why I'm calling him the Joker, because he is going to haunt people for a long time. And hopefully for his whole career here, in the NFL, staying in Cleveland.
Let me ask you this. What are some things that you feel like he can improve on coming from, we just hear about all the great things he can do. What are some of the things that you've noticed that you think maybe he can do better at the next level or learn to get better at?
Well, to me, I think that's the best part about him. He's such a polished player already. You can always learn things, right? No matter who you are. You can be the best player of all time. You're still going to have to learn. What I would say is I think in coverage, I think he could be a little bit better. A lot of times he is, and it's just because of his size, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah.
He sometimes he's trailing.
He's caught between a linebacker and a safety because he's a weird hybrid player. Yeah.
But I think at the NFL level, guys, obviously are always faster. So I think he might struggle with that a little bit early. but I don't see that as a long-term problem, especially because I think the Browns are gonna use him to cover tight ends and running backs, you know what I mean? Where
Right,
in college, he's covering Devontae Smith, you know?
right.
Like, if you go watch his tape, go watch the Notre Dame, Alabama game, I'm not even joking, they had him covering Devontae Smith. So I think if I had to nitpick, that would probably be my biggest concern, but like
Mhm.
I said, I think he's gonna pick it up quick.
Yeah,
Um,
on the nitpicking side, I would agree with that, and also add to that, just in a couple like you a couple spots because I didn't get to watch every single snap that he took in college, but when I was going over some of his film and stuff after the draft, you're just getting really excited about what he could do. I noticed that he did have some difficulties getting off blocks sometimes or getting through blocks, and was only able to catch quarterbacks or catch runners or whoever had the ball possessors after, like you said, trailing for a little bit. He was able to make the play
mhm.
at the end of the day, but he had to catch up to the play. You know what I mean? So those are things that I feel like he could improve on. So, but like you said, it's just a nitpick. I do believe he's pretty polished, just like Newsom comes in pretty much ready to start day one. Whether or not he makes a super significant impact, I don't expect that. I'm not putting those expectations on him, but I do expect him to contribute in some decent ways.
Yeah, I think this is the most fascinating pick of the offseason as far as bringing guys in. How are they gonna use him? Because they can use him in so many different ways. Um, so yeah, that's
I think they
like
should use him for the Travis Kelce's of the world to
mhm.
spy on Lamar's of the world, on the Mahomes of the world, the Allens of the world. Just make that middle of the field hell for anybody who comes through there, man, and
And number 9
cover.
down there in Cincinnati.
Yeah,
He
exactly.
likes to run.
Yes. Yep.
So, to me, I think it's a perfect pick.
Yep.
Just these 2 picks, it couldn't have been any better.
Right.
If the draft stopped here, go home. We're happy.
That's what I said. The same thing. I was like, I don't even have to watch the rest of the draft, man. I'm good.
Yeah. Well, yeah, so let's go to this one. Number 91 in the NFL draft, round 3. Browns take wide receiver Anthony Schwartz. I'm interested to get your take on this because I've had a lot of people on my back since I've said my thoughts on this. So I'll go ahead and let you go first.
Okay. Well, to be honest, I had no clue who Anthony Schwartz was. He was not on my board at all. I'm not gonna come on here and try to pretend like, oh yeah, I was waiting for them to mail such. Da, da, da,
Mhm.
da. I had to. It was somebody. I heard the name and I was like, okay, that's kind of something out of left foot I didn't expect because by the time they picked the wide receiver, all of the wide receivers I was hoping were going to be available were gone by then. I liked Elijah Moore like a lot of people did. I like Rondell Moore. I liked Rashad Bateman, who went in the first round way sooner than not way sooner. I was hoping that we were going to be able to snack him up late second round. Early second round, maybe late second round, but he went real quick to the Ravens. So all the receivers that I was looking at were gone. Anthony Schwartz came along, and the first thing I heard about him was that he was super fast. So that's always a plus. I was happy about that. Checked out his film and stuff, and it looked his highlights. I couldn't really find much film on him, but his highlights looked super spectacular. It got me really excited because as we all know, as Browns fans, we really lacked a lot of deep speed last year. That was something our offense lacked, and that we could have used it a lot more. Like when Donovan Peoples-Jones had his kind of flashes throughout certain parts of the season, it was very promising to see, but we just needed more of that. So I get the idea of making the pick, and I see a lot of value in the pick, but he's a very unpolished receiver. They didn't really ask him to do a whole lot in college, from what I could see and what I was able to read up on him about. They just basically asked him to do a lot of bubble screens,
Mhm.
jet sweeps, and things like that. So with this pick, I'm not expecting him to come in and be like a superstar receiver or nothing like that. I think initially he's gonna contribute a lot to special teams. And during the draft, I thought that that's basically what he was going to be limited to. But as I put more thought into it, I kind of think that Stefanski and Alex Van Pelt will find a way, some kind of package, whether it be gadget plays or whatever, to put him on the field and make defenses think about him. Because I figure, what's the use in using a third round pick on a receiver if you're just going to not use him?
Mhm.
And I'd rather have defenses every week worried, okay, what are we going to do when they put Schwartz on the field? He's so super fast, the fastest dude who ran a pro day this year, ran a 4.25 40, which is crazy fast. Like,
Olympic speed.
yeah. So that would be great. I mean, but the great thing is we also don't need him to come in and be Tyreek Hill. We don't need him to come in and be the next Tyreek Hill. We just need him to be a consistent deep threat who puts up some decent production. He's going to be at the bottom of the wide receiver core for right now. And to that point, Kadero Hodge and Rashad Higgins might need to watch their back on their jobs this year because, you know, Anthony Schwartz, if he shows some promise, especially with the deep ball, if him and Baker end up finding some kind of chemistry like Rashad Perriman and Baker had in 2018, somebody in that receiver room is going to have to worry about their job.
Yeah.
But that's just one of those picks about waiting for it to pan out before you make a decision on it. So
yeah, I was not a fan of this pick when it came through. Now, since looking into it a little bit more, I've kind of lessened, I guess you could say. And first of all, I don't hate Anthony Schwartz. Everybody's like, "What do you got against him?" I don't have anything against him. I just think, to me, I think my problem was I had some guys that I had really dug into. You know, De'Ami Brown from North Carolina was one that I really, really had my hopes up for. Because I'm thinking long-term solutions to your wide receiver room. Because Landry and Beckham, yeah, great to have them. Odds are they're not going to be here for a whole lot longer. I love Donovan Peoples-Jones, but he can't be the only one that you're counting on for long term. So I was hoping to come out of this draft with somebody like a Diami Brown or like some of the guys you named. Rondale Moore, I was really high on. And I had a feeling he would get picked higher than some people thought just because of his raw talent. But to me, when I look at Anthony Schwartz, I see you taking a receiver in the third round who has major, major route running concerns,
right.
which at the next level, that's a big deal.
Yeah,
In
but that's
his
because they didn't
hands.
ask him to do a lot. That's what I was saying with the bubble screens and the jet sweeps and stuff like that. They just didn't ask him to do a lot. But thankfully, that's stuff you can coach into
Yeah.
people. You know what I mean? It's just gonna take time.
Well, and that's the best part is he's working on it, and he's committed, and he's actually working with Landry in Florida. I saw, so I'm happy in the fact that at least he understands his weaknesses and what he needs to work on to get better. But you know, I just think he's got a long ways to go. You know what I mean? And
And you
that's
also have to think he's going to be in a wide receiver room with Odell Beckham Jr. and Jarvis Landry. He's going to be in there with some great receivers. Hopefully, they can help speed along his development to where it only takes him a season to get down a few of the great routes. I mean, he doesn't have to get the whole tree in the first season. You know what I mean? Just run a couple good routes, run a good slant across the middle for me. You know what I mean? Come out the slot, run a quick slant like Tyreek does, like he's been murdering people all season last year. Like, just do that.
Yeah. And another thing is, like you talked about, Brashard Perriman was a guy Baker had chemistry with for no reason, really. I mean, it wasn't like they did anything special. He just really connected with him. But the thing about Brashard Perriman is he could burn guys, but he always caught the ball. That's my concern with Schwartz. His hands, to me, are not where they need to be. Now, they could get there. I mean, David Njoku didn't have the greatest hands, and he's been working on
And he
it.
still doesn't.
He still doesn't, but at least he's working on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if Schwartz, I feel like, to me, Schwartz is a guy who can prove a lot of people wrong because I'm rooting for him.
Right.
Okay.
We
I
all are. We
want
all
him.
are.
Yeah, we all are. But I just
It's
think
got to
he's
be
got,
honest. Yeah.
I just think he's got a long ways to go. Now,
I
like I
agree.
said, I'm glad he's working on it and he understands that. I just think, to me, the kid from Oklahoma State, I just lost his name. But anyway, he was on the board. I really liked him. But I think that's just my biggest problem is I was hoping to get somebody who I think maybe was a little bit more polished, you know what I mean? And that's just my problem. But you know, some people, like, I'm not going to name names, but I saw somebody said Anthony Schwartz is going to be the next superstar for the Browns. And I'm like,
No. See, yeah, people
what?
go too far, man.
Yeah.
Relax.
So, but yeah, like I said, and like you said, we're rooting for him. I thought maybe this pick was a little bit early. I thought
Okay, I
personally
was
he
just
could
about to ask you,
fall.
would you have a problem with it if it was like a fourth round pick or something like that?
No, well, and considering the fact that we had 2 4th round picks, so close, I would have been like, all right, the
Right.
value, I see the speed, at that point it would have been more understandable. And especially because, a guy on this list, and I know because you're an Ohio State fan, and Togi, I thought he was going to go a lot earlier,
Yeah,
So when I
yeah,
when I saw Schwartz, I was like, you're telling me if I had to choose, would I rather have Togi or Schwartz? You know what I mean?
yeah,
But we'll talk about it. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I wasn't necessarily a huge fan. I have come down a little bit. I'm rooting for him. Hope for the best. We'll see. This is a
yeah.
we'll see
That's a
situation.
definitely a we'll see situation.
So we had 2 4th round picks. With the first one, they took tackle James Hudson from Cincinnati. What'd you think about this pick?
Thought that was a great pick as well because we need some offensive line depth. Something I, as a fan, have been kind of been trying to point out for a while was like last year, if you remember, we had the number one O line, but we also, when we had members of that O line go down, our running game suffered when we had to plug people in because we didn't really have depth and we were paying. And I think, in my opinion, we're paying some guys that really aren't really worthy of the money. Like Chris Hubbard, he's on like the fourth year of a $35 million deal, and he's been one of the worst rated tackles at his position over the course of that contract. So I feel like it's been a combination of not having depth and not getting the production you need from some of the people you're paying as backups. So I was happy to see them get a nice young guy who transferred from Michigan and came to Cincinnati. And I think that he transferred from Michigan because like he wasn't getting playing time or something. I don't know, but the between there and his draft, he seemed to make a lot of improvements on things with his hands, his footwork, being able to and having a really high ceiling from the way people talk about him. So like I haven't really watched a lot of him, just really all just reading up on what I can, catching some highlights and reading scouting reports and things of that nature. But yeah, I think he'll be a really good piece of throwing there to rotate to help protect Baker, keep that line up and running. If somebody goes down with COVID again, or maybe there's an injury that knocks out Patino for a couple weeks or something like that, and he can step in and feel it, and we won't feel it so bad like we did last year when a couple linemen went down and we couldn't really run the ball. So, and I thought that they were going to address that position a little bit more in the draft too, but again, we only had 9 picks, so.
Yeah. Yeah, James Hudson was kind of interesting. I mean, I knew of him. I didn't know a whole lot about him. So
Mhm.
after looking into him more, this is a huge potential pick right here. I mean, Bill Callahan, holy crap. If he gets
Right.
his hands on this kid long term, he could be special.
And that's why you could
Uh
be excited about that because of Bill
Bill
Callahan. So
Callahan. Yeah.
yeah,
Well, and when Georgia played Cincinnati in the bowl game, he was lined up against Azeez Ojulari, who's
okay,
a guy who obviously we had really looked into a lot and liked a
right,
lot, or at
right,
least I did. I'm sure you
yeah,
liked him
yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah. Me too. Yeah, he was on my draft board for sure.
When So Hudson got hurt in that game, and when Hudson was out, Georgia took over because of that. So the fact that he held his own so well against a guy who had first round hype and
Right.
was a really good prospect,
Hmm.
I like a lot. And I think long term, this could be the perfect scenario because he can play really any position, and you're going to have to make a decision on Joel Bitonio. You're going to have to make a decision on Wyatt Teller. I'd personally rather
Mm.
have Teller because
Yeah,
he's
Teller for
younger.
sure.
Um,
Yep.
and even Jack Conklin has an opt out after this next year. So if I don't think he'll want to leave,
Right.
but worst case scenario, if he says I hate Cleveland now, at
Well,
least you
not
have
even that. You have to consider that big contracts are coming up too, man. Wait
yeah
is going to have to get cut from somewhere. Not going to always be able to afford to pay the number one offensive line, especially if Baker has a great year this year. He's going to be coming in asking for 35, 40 million. You're going to be
mhm,
looking at paying Denzel a cool 30 million at least. And then you got who else is coming up for Chubb too.
yep
And that kind of all those three of those contracts right there, kind of together at once, is going to get some pieces cut. And so you might see Conklin have to go. And it's
yeah.
like you said, it's nice to have Hudson coming on board for that kind of a scenario.
When you lost Kendall Lamb too,
Yeah,
Lamb was a guy who you really relied on. So I think this is I mean, it's perfect all around. You got a young guy who's got a lot of potential. He doesn't need to start. He can sit behind the best offensive line in football with the best offensive line coach. And we'll see. I think that could potentially turn into a really good pick right there.
Yep.
Um, so with our next pick, 132, we took the guy I think everybody was hoping for, Mr. Tommy Togiai out of the Ohio State University. Thank you, Andrew Berry, for including the Ohio State. You
Right.
keeping your fans happy there.
Yep.
What
Always
do you
glad
think
to hear
about
a Buckeye.
Togiai?
I was kind of surprised at the pick that we like again somebody that we were thinking about should have been drafted earlier ended up
Mhm.
falling down here to this pick. Grabbed him, thought it was a great pick. As being a Ohio State fan, watching almost every snap of Ohio State football that comes across the TV, just great to have him. Happy to have him. He's a great run stopper. He needs to work on his pass. He self-admittedly knows he needs to work on his pass rushing skills. He said he's been working on that all off season, getting some more moves with his hands and stuff like that. So it'd be great to see him come in there and bring some depth to that hole left by Sheldon Richardson when he departed. And of course, everybody knows we lost Ogunjobi and Vernon as well down there on that interior of the line and stuff. So again, another depth piece, a piece that also has a lot of potential. I expect to see him come in on a lot of situational scenarios during the season, whether it be like third down, short third downs, you know what I mean? Maybe
Mhm.
some red zone situations where you're expecting runs and stuff like that. Let him be good at what he's good at and then help him improve in the other areas and then just plug him in as you need him. But I do think he has a high potential, a high ceiling with great amounts of potential to make some great contributions. I don't expect for him to come in and start by any means, but I do expect him to be in that rotation somewhere. And you might hear his name called a couple times on some big stops. So,
Yeah, I think he's going to get a lot of playing time, like you said, on rundowns because he's a bull in the middle.
mhm.
And the D tackle room right now is, there's guys, Jackson and Billings are going to start, but
Right.
behind
Question
them,
marks.
yeah, but behind them with Togiai, and you're going to see what you got with Jordan Elliott, and we just
Right.
signed the D tackle. I can't remember his name. Do you know his name off the top of your head?
Malik something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
Yeah,
anyway,
I can't
so
remember his last name.
so basically behind those first two guys, it's competition. You want to play, here it is. And I think Togiai, I think his pass rushing skills are better than people give him credit for. I
Hmm.
just think it's not where it should be necessarily, but
Right.
I think if he comes back to Ohio State this year and plays a full season with Haskell Garrett right next to him, I think he's a second round pick, if not a bottom of the first. So to get him here, so basically what he's doing is he's having that extra development in the NFL versus,
In
in
college, yeah.
college.
Yeah. He'd
So
rather get that development with a paycheck. So,
yeah, 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 exactly. So I think this is a great pick. And
yeah.
I'm excited because there was a lot of questions. Now that Sheldon's gone, what do we do? And now at least you have some potential answers in this room. And especially with I think Wilson's his name. I
Yeah.
think
Malik Wilson. That's it.
Yeah. So now you have some potential long-term options, and I do think Togiai is going to be the long-term D tackle there for the Browns.
Right. And we need
So
that too, man, with our whole starting defensive line on 1 year contracts, basically.
yeah, pretty much. With this next pick, I don't know a whole lot about this guy right here, so I'm not going to pretend to.
Right.
Um, Tony Fields, linebacker from West Virginia. I'll say this first. I was surprised they went linebacker again. I think
Yeah.
this might write the end potentially for Mac Wilson or
Yep.
Taki Taki. I think more likely Wilson.
Wilson. Yeah. I hope not Taki, man. He has potential, and I think he needs to get a couple more snaps, give him more of a chance to show what he can do. I like the flashes that he showed last year, that
Mhm,
interception return, and I forget what game it was in. I think it was the Eagles, but I can't swear to that.
mhm.
Um, whatever game that was in, that was one of those flashes. I would like to see him get another chance. Mac Wilson really needs to step it up. PFF, Pro Football Focus, for y'all who don't keep up with the acronyms, um, had him graded pretty low amongst linebackers. I think he was like 94th out of 120 or something like that. It's
Which
pretty
is
bad.
horrible.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. So he's really got to step it up. And then, like you said, surprised they went linebacker. I really don't know much about him at all, to be honest. Watched a couple highlights again, some scouting reports, but other than that, I would have went corner here, to be honest. This kind of
I
was
would
one of
too.
those, yeah, this is kind of one of those picks where I was like, whatever. I don't really know nothing about it, and I really didn't care that. It was the Browns pick, so I looked into it like with a very cursory eye and interest, but didn't really delve too deep into it because it wasn't a pick that I really agree with. I would have really went corner here just to get some more depth at that position and create some more competition.
I think odds are he's going to play special teams a lot to start,
Mm-hmm.
but they say he's like JOK light, like a Dollar General JOK,
What we
which
gonna do with that?
I mean,
What we gonna
ap-
do with that?
apparently they like this style of linebacker. I think that's the message they're sending here. They're taking two guys who have similar skill sets, similar body types. Now, obviously, JOK is just way better, but
Well, yeah, they want the linebackers who can cover and be like the safety hybrids. They want the smaller who can cover because
mhm.
that's where the NFL is going now with the tight ends and like all the passing. The rules are slanted to all the receivers and the quarterbacks and things. So they're trying to get small with the linebackers and also linebackers with the money ball thing that the Browns like to do. They're not a
Mhm.
really top rated value as far as value comes at that position. So
Well, and I think speed too. With everybody who's in the division, you get a linebacker who's quick. I mean that might be it. I think really honestly they took him just because they're like, well, he fits what we want to do, so we'll see if he can turn into something.
right,
So I mean, I'm not gonna say I'm not happy with it. I was surprised by it, is what I'll say
yeah.
there. With the next pick, 169, they take safety Richard LeCount from Georgia. Do you know a lot about him? And what did you think
No,
about this?
another player. Once we start getting to like the bottom of the draft, where I didn't really have a whole lot of time to go into the bottom of the board and just look at all like the bottom of the prospects and get into every single body. So this was another guy I had no clue of. Had to go look up, do some research on and things like that. And really don't. I mean, we just create some more competition for the position, I guess, amongst the safeties is really all I can say. I mean, I think we're kind of deep at that position now with Harrison. Hopefully, Delpit stays healthy and comes in. We just picked up Hill, who's going to play that slot for us. I know I'm leaving out somebody else's name. I just can't think of off the top of my head right now. I feel like we're pretty deep at safety. You know what I mean? So once again, this was another pick that could have either been, I mean, put towards another wide receiver or a corner, or I mean, I would have probably maybe looked at a running back too, because I also feel like with the Chubb situation and the Hunt situation coming up, I felt like maybe we want to start thinking about looking into some running backs because you can usually get some good value running backs late in the draft, which has been proven time and time again recently. You look at Alvin Kamara, Derrick Henry, just to name a few, the guy that plays for the Green Bay Packers, all guys either undrafted or drafted late in the draft. So you can always get value there. So as somebody at a position I really wasn't following because at this low in the draft, I'm really only looking at sexy picks like wide receivers and
Mhm.
running backs, offense and stuff like that. So hopefully he can come in and create some competition for those guys. But I really don't see the need because as long as Grant can stay healthy, I feel like we got our safety position is stacked. So
I was shocked that this guy was even available when we picked. That's why when his name came across, I was like, "Whoa, wait a minute!" Like I did a double take. I've actually known of him for a while, which is
mm-hmm.
kind of nice because I mean, you get lucky with stuff like that if you happen to catch a player. Because the draft, you can take anybody.
Right.
Um, but LeCount was a 5 star, coming into college, and basically my explanation with him is he's a guy who went to a big school, and I think it's a Jordan Fuller situation like what happened with him at Ohio State going to the Rams, I believe, right? He went to the Rams.
Yeah.
So to me, LeCount's a guy who had, two NFL corners now in front of him who were drafted, went to Jacksonville and went to Green Bay. Um, so I think he just kind of got lost in the shuffle a little bit, but that doesn't mean he wasn't a good player. He's not great at one thing necessarily. He's pretty solid all around, but he has a knack to get the ball. He had 7 interceptions in the last, I want to say his last season or something crazy like that.
Okay.
But he's, to me, I think he's a guy that's going to play a lot of special teams. But this pick is very underrated, in my opinion, my personal
Okay.
opinion. I think it's really underrated. He's worth looking into a little bit more. To me, I think this is your goodbye Sheldrick Redwine pick right here.
There's
And
another guy on the bubble.
yeah, and I'm not saying he's going to start or be your long-term solution, but he's definitely got a lot of potential and he doesn't have to be forced into anything right now. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
we'll see with him. But yeah, I definitely and everybody watching too. If you don't know a whole lot about him, I would definitely check into him a little bit more. Um and then with the next pick, I almost said 211, the Browns take Demetric Felton. Now he's listed on here, Pro Football Talk, as a wide receiver. The Browns drafted him
As a
as
running
a
back.
running back, but he
Right.
played both. So what did you think about this pick?
Again, another pick I had to go look into, but I liked it once I got into it. He was a 4-star recruit coming out of high school. I liked the hybrid abilities as you described, where he was listed as a wide receiver, but he is a running back that's kind of like Kareem Hunt esque that can
Hmm.
receive out of the backfield. He's real shifty with some of the things that he does. Like I said, I'm really big on looking for running backs in the late rounds of drafts these days, unless you're really in need of a running back, like the Steelers. I really don't see the need to take a running back in the first round. I would generally never, if I was a general manager, I would generally never take a running back unless it was like the top of the second round, or I
Hmm.
just absolutely had to have this running back because I've
Yeah,
seen
Nick
running backs.
Chubb.
Yeah, I've seen too many running backs bust in the first round in my lifetime, too many times. So I would just stay away from him there. But seeing him come through, he's a great hybrid player. He's loose. He's slimmer. He plays with a lot of energy. It looks like he's got some great hands. He's got great movement with his footwork and stuff like that. That I was able to see from just the limited amount of time and film that I was allowed to able to get access to. Some of the things that I didn't really like that I could see or pull from scouting reports and stuff like that is that he seems like that he rushes ahead of blocks a lot. He doesn't have a lot of
Yeah,
patience on some
yeah.
things. He's got to kind of slow that down. You got to wait for your blockers to get through stuff like that. And that's really important at the next level because everything is like a dance at the NFL, man. Like, and if one person is off step, the whole choreography is messed up and it's not going to work. And he needs to develop some better. I think just from the scouting reports, this is just my personal opinion. Don't take it to the bank or anything, but maybe could just work on his instincts a little bit more as far as field awareness, vision, hands. Um, like I said, using the blocks. I don't want to repeat myself, but just at utilizing the tools on the field to a better degree to maximize his production and things like that. So, but yeah, really looking forward to seeing if he can compete with Dearness for that third spot.
Yeah, that's gonna be one to watch in camp because I think I really think he could get used in a Duke Johnson style of role where he's
Mm-hmm.
used heavily out of the backfield, but also on occasion, they hand the ball off to him. Good thing is he's got people to learn from, you know. So, yeah, what you heard was correct. He's not very patient. He's like the opposite of Le'Veon Bell, Nick Chubb, those guys.
Right.
But that's stuff that you can develop. You know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah,
Zeke
you
was
can
kind of
coach.
the
Yeah,
same. Zeke was kind of the same way coming into the NFL. He always wanted to bounce it outside instead of follow his blockers, and go up the middle.
yeah,
So I mean, it's your last pick in the draft. It's not like it's a huge deal.
right.
But anyway,
And
what
if
would
it
you?
does work out, the worst thing is that you have another depth piece. If you can't really come to a contract term with Kareem Hunt because
Mhm.
he's going to be looking for some money because now we had him on that 2-year contract. Now I think we have him through the 2022 season.
I
So
believe so.
after the 2022 season is over, he's probably going to end up asking for more money, and we're probably going to end up cutting one of those luxury pieces gone. So it won't be a bad idea to have this guy around if he can learn, get some coached out of some of the things that we've mentioned. He could be somebody that sticks around and gives us some depth. So that would be awesome.
So what would you grade this draft as a whole?
as a whole, A plus, man. I'm not even going I'm not even going to try to downplay it at all. even at
Yeah.
the bottom, even at the bottom of the draft where some of the unknown names that I wasn't very too familiar with, I still see the value in them when you go through the scouting reports and you do your homework on them. I can see the value. I can see where Andrew Barry is thinking. I can see what Paul DePodesta and all them, how they're using the data to come up with the trying to address these needs of the team, how they're assessing the value of each position and how it relates to the quarterback, how it relates to getting to the quarterback, how it relates to their scheme. Like it seems like for once the Browns franchise, the front office, like all of it is running in such a cohesive unit right now. Everybody's
Hmm.
eyes are on the same thing. Everybody's on the same page. Everybody's understanding across the board. Hey, this is what we what we want to do. This is our identity. This is what we're trying to get accomplished. These guys fit our mold. It just seems like you could not script this draft any better, in my opinion. That the way we were able to get Newsom, the way we were able to get Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, the way we were able to get Togiai and these other guys that just fell to us, the way we were able to, you really just couldn't script it any better. And even though this is just a draft and we have to wait to see it reflected on the field, because all we're just going on now is just
Paper.
potential
Yeah.
and hope. But if these guys can even come out and perform even just close enough to the prospect, to the projections that have been put on them and some of the expectations, because like none of these guys need to really come in and ball out, except with the exception of Newsom and Jeremiah, if he gets to play some significant snaps. Everybody else can kind of come in behind somebody else on the team and just learn
Hmm.
and just do something when they're called upon, and they don't have to have a lot thrust on them. So they're going to be in a really good situation. The only two players I see with minimal amounts of pressure, like I said, would be Newsom and JLK. But A plus draft all day, and not even just for like the division. I feel like the Browns had one of the better drafts out of the whole
As
league.
a whole. Yeah. Yeah.
I think they had like a top 5 draft in my opinion. They really addressed all of their needs, maybe not in the way I would have necessarily all the way down the board. But like I said, I see the vision, I see the value, and I'm with it, man. A plus, A plus, A plus.
Yeah, I would go, you might be mad. I'd go A minus, but the only reason why I'm going A minus is because I think there were two picks that I really go, like, okay, but I would go a different way that I think you could help you a lot more. And those obviously were Schwartz and then Fields, the linebacker. I just
Right.
think, but it's in AB we trust, and that's just where we're at right now.
Exactly.
He's proven to us that we can trust him. What he did last year with the offense, dude. We're gonna have potentially like 9 new starters
Yeah,
on
that is
defense.
crazy. 9 new faces.
Hmm.
A
Well,
completely new defense to understand.
and I heard somebody talking about, well, that's on paper, but you know what the thing is here? Troy Hill and John Johnson the third, they already know each other. They know their tendencies. They got that down. So that's one. You don't
Right.
got to worry about those two. Now it's just the rookies and somebody like Clowney coming in. Oh yeah, by the way, because since the last time we talked, Clowney wasn't signed. So what do you think
Mhm.
about that?
That's I'm not really all that excited about it. I think it's one of those for me, that's the biggest wait and see of this. I just need Jadavian to stay healthy. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I need him to stay healthy. I need him to be available for the playoffs. I am well aware that he brings great run stopping ability to the line. Hopefully, with Miles getting double teamed, it's going to free him up to get back there and have a great bounce back year to get some sacks in. And I recognize that all the potential that he really brings to the team, and not, that the potential that he provides is quite exciting. But
Yeah.
when you're looking at his past history, injury history, his past production history outside of the run stopping, it's not a whole lot. It's not very flattering. You know what I mean? It's not very inspiring. So I'm really waiting to see and not trying to get too excited about it or trying to get too upset about it at all about his addition. I want it to work out. I just if he ends up on the sideline not playing, I'm going to be more upset about losing Sheldon Richardson
Yeah.
and that because Sheldon Richardson showed up for games. Even though he's injured, he played through injury, he showed up, he was reliable. And even if he wasn't the best at his position, like Clowney wants to be, if Clowney's not on the field, I'm going to be really upset about that. But if he's on the field, I think it's a great acquisition for the team. I think he will go very far in helping us get where we need to be. And that's why I think this schedule that they're going to announce next weekend or next week on next Wednesday, I believe, May 12th.
Yep.
It's going to be very important how the games fall for us, man, because I think we're going to need some kind of cakewalk games in the beginning to kind of get our chemistry together, especially if we don't have a preseason like we did last year. So
And
I
I
don't
think
want to.
that's I don't mean to cut you off, but I
Oh yeah,
think
go
that
ahead.
goes with OBJ too,
Mm-hmm.
because Baker and OBJ still we haven't seen them click yet, and
Yep.
Baker's coming off of being hot. So I think if you have two, not two, um, shoot, like you were saying, the cakewalk, not maybe
Yeah.
not cakewalks,
Not
but
cakewalk,
easier
but
games.
easier
There
games.
you
Yeah.
go. So
Yeah,
I think
because
that could
we're gonna
benefit
have to
too.
we're gonna have to start with division rivals because that's just how the schedule goes. We're gonna probably get two divisional games, and then we'll get two out of division games, or probably two out of conference games.
Hmm.
And I'm hoping that we get the Bengals up front in our for our division games.
No kidding. Yeah.
Let's get a division, and then maybe get like the Lions and the Bears or something up front. Something the way that it's gonna be not a super hard game, not a super easy game, but something we can get our chemistry together with, get some kinks worked out, get some wrinkles ironed out. Because then when with the 17th game on the schedule, it's going to be really important to pace our way through this and to try and stay healthy for as long as possible so we can have maximum impact in the playoffs because this is our window. Next 2 years, this is our window. So
Now let me ask you this one right here. Would you bring back Olivier Vernon? Because keep in mind, he's not going to be able to play for the whole season,
mhm.
but coming back into the playoffs, he could be ready, and you might be able to sign him pretty cheap. Would you do that?
Yeah, if we were getting too close to the playoffs, we were having some depth issues, or even if we were having depth issues due to injury or anything like that, I would consider bringing him back. It just depends on the price tag because Vernon can have some impact. He had some impact last year, especially when Miles was out with COVID. He really stepped up and showed some flashes of the old Olivier when
Hmm.
John Dorsey traded for him. So yeah, I would bring him and Sheldon back if the scenario warranted it. I wouldn't just do it just to do it, but
Yeah, I think it's the price is right. It's and with Sheldon, I would love to have him back, but I just feel like one of these teams, like maybe not even the Chiefs because they don't have a lot of money, but one of those Chief-like teams, could snag him up and could have a real big impact. Um, yeah, but overall, I think when you look at the entire offseason, if you give it anything but an A plus, I think you're crazy.
crazy, especially for the Browns.
Legitimately crazy.
The Browns have had such a great offseason that now the people are talking about them being a trading landing spot for Aaron Rodgers, which is crazy.
Mhm.
And I can't even believe I'm saying this as a Browns fan right now, but I don't even want Aaron Rodgers, even if it was a possibility. I'll
Yeah.
stick with Baker, man. I feel like I've been through hell and back with Baker. Aaron Rodgers is a crybaby. He generally underperforms in the playoffs, and he's getting close to the end of his career. So, I mean,
Mhm.
just that's a tangent right there, but still, just I think that's ridiculous. But it just shows you how far the Browns have come to where now people are going from the Browns is the Browns to man, the Browns might have one of the best rosters in the
Mhm.
NFL. Just had one of the best drafts that any team has had in this entire year. They're setting up to make a deep run into the playoffs. I love hearing that. I love
Mhm.
hearing that.
Well, and I think this is the first time I'm not afraid to to play anybody. Like line up the Bucks. I don't care. I mean,
I'm
I'm
not
not
scared of the Bucks. I'm not really scared of anybody. Man, I get worried about Patrick Mahomes, man, because
yeah.
of how magical he is.
I feel
Dude is
like we
like a
can play with
unicorn.
anybody though. I really
Yeah,
do.
I do
So,
too.
man, it's exciting. I mean, this is
Mm,
the first time as Browns fans we can be like, "Oh shoot, we're not just a good team. We're like a really really good team." But it's going to be fun to watch. Andrew Berry is a genius.
I can't.
Absolute genius.
And so far, man, I think he's one of the people. I have a video coming out sometimes later this month about 5 people that I think saved the Cleveland Browns franchise over the last 3 years. And Andrew Berry is definitely on that list. Spoiler alert, man, with the way that he's come in and taken the foundation that John Dorsey built and kind of cut some of the rough edges off, cut some of the dead weight off, and plugged in some new pieces, picked up a couple acquisitions here, free agent Austin Hooper, Jack Conklin, you know what I mean? Making
Mhm.
a couple slick extra value draft picks last year. And now this year with the miraculous job, man. I'm so excited for this season. I can barely contain myself. Now, if we could just get a win for the season opener and snap that losing
Yes.
streak,
Yeah.
I think we'll be on to something, man.
Yeah. It's that's the next big hurdle to get over. We got the
Yes.
playoffs, we got the winning season.
We got to get that opener now, man.
Yeah. Just don't tell me that Hugh Jackson or Freddie's on that list.
Oh man, you just gonna have to wait.
Well, at least y'all have that to look forward to. Anything else you want to plug? I'll put your socials, but go ahead and tell them anyway.
Yeah, man. If you guys want to get some weekly sports content to go along with your feed, your content that you get with my man DF Sports over here, man, hit me up at the Sports Sanctuary. I'm on Twitter too. You know, here and there, you can find me at SportsGuru082, and that's really all I got, man.
Yeah. Well, hey, thanks for coming on again.
No problem, man. Always enjoy it.
Yeah, had a good time last time. I thought, man, why not do it again? So,
Yes, sir.
and we'll do it again. We'll just keep
anytime, man. Anytime, brother. Go Browns.
Yeah, it's gonna. I think that's the worst part right now is this waiting period between the draft and camp. It's like, oh man.
Yes, man. That's gonna be like us talking about the Super Bowl every day.
Every day. But hey, man, we got a lot to look forward to as fans. So yeah, thank you for coming on again. Everybody, go check him out. Like I said, I'll try to link everything. Yeah. So thanks for watching. Like I said before, I got a ton of draft content. I really want to talk about Trey Lance. That's the one that's kind of been on the top of my head that I really want to talk about.
There's a lot to talk about with the quarterback stuff coming out of this draft, man.
Oh man, it's crazy. But so yeah, everybody, thanks for watching, and go ahead and let us know what you think in the comments. What would you grade this draft? Like I said, he says A+. I'd give it an A-. I think the whole offseason A+ from both of us. So not a lot you can be upset with there. So anyway, thanks for watching, and we will see you next time. Goodbye.
Peace.